ABA, the only authentic scientific way to move forward after the diagnosis, or when you're told that, you have to move forward in this journey, accept it. Who is going to tell you what's ABA? Who's going to make the plan for you? Who's going to do the proper assessments, proper observation is a person that's going to lead your life. Again, I'm saying that because he or she is going to take the key role in your life and in your child's life. And that person is popularly known as a board certified behavior analyst. We usually call them BCBAs. When I thought of having a BCBA in the studio in my podcast, I couldn't think of anyone else but him, because he is the one who helped us with our twins who are on the spectrum when we were facing the most difficult time. We had OCDs, we had self-injurious behaviors, and I thought my life is over. So we ended up in a center, and I met this BCBA who just showed to me that ABA actually is the way to move forward, the right way to move forward. But what is ABA? What is BCBA? How do they work? How do they assess? Today's episode is going to be all about that, and I'll try to cover as much as possible, because since it's a spectrum, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of criticism as well. So I'm honored, I'm humbled to have somebody in the studio who is amazing at what he does. His name is Mr. Hong. He is a board certified behavior analyst. Hong, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much. I really want to mention that he has come all the way from Abu Dhabi. So thank you.
Thank you, Amreen. Thank you for inviting me, and it is a pleasure to be.
I want to quickly, precisely tell them about what is ABA.
Okay. Well, I think I love this part of trying to understand the science and trying to explain to everyone as well. So applied behavior analysis is a science that specifically study the relationship of behavior and environment. Most of the time, our behavior is being affected by day-to-day environment. Mm-hmm. For example, I think a lot of parents that I gave consultations or came to me for training, they were very familiar with these examples that I always give. So where do you go to Starbucks? I actually gave the answer. So if you want coffee, where do you go to?
Starbucks.
Costa, yeah, I just gave the answer, which is great. Yeah. But do you go somewhere else for coffee?
Yeah, if I have no Starbucks, I'll go somewhere else.
Exactly. But you don't go library for coffee, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So in day-to-day life, ABA is being applied naturally, even if you understand or if you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's actually applied in the natural settings. It's just that we turn this into a study so that we truly understand.
So it's been there since the humans were
exactly.
created.
It affects anything about living organism, including us, we as a human, So if you don't know ABA, it's actually being applied to you in day-to-day life with you having the knowledge or without you have the knowledge. It's just that we have a science specifically study on the behavior so that we know why we behave in such way.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why, go back to the example of a Starbucks. You specifically go to Starbucks because coffee is available there.
Okay.
And you went to the counter, you order for coffee, and you get coffee. If you ask for latte, you get latte. You don't get Americano for that.
Yeah.
Correct? See, your behavior has been reinforced by natural consequence of asking specifically things that you ask for.
Okay.
But if one day Starbucks doesn't sell coffee at all, would you still go to Starbucks for coffee?
No.
Exactly. See, our behavior has changed by just changing certain environment. So this is why ABA can be applied in day-to-day life and also to anyone.
But see, ABA applied on me is different, but ABA applied on my son who's on the spectrum, who'll have a meltdown if Starbucks is not giving him latte that they usually do. Applying ABA on him will be entirely different.
Absolutely. And on our special needs versus to, in typical development or typical situations, it will be different.
Yeah.
However, the application is the same. If you look at that, in the day-to-day life, if we don't get to, let's say, for example, that this is a door that you can go into for an entrance, right? So one day, if you couldn't open the door, what would you do next?
I look for help. I don't know about anyone else.
Yeah, you probably try harder, right? You
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
try a little bit harder, see if you can access to the main entrance.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like if you apply back to the same examples here, if I don't get Starbucks for coffee, I will have a meltdown because that's where, I'll try again. That's where we call extinction burst here. It's a jargon word, but what it means is that your behavior will spike up at that
Yeah.
moment. But for special needs, yes, will be very, very different because the way how they perceive the world, the way how they experience things is a higher magnitude.
Yeah.
So that's why it's different.
Okay, I get it. Then you hear this term early intervention. It takes over your life. Everybody, your psychologist, your pediatrician, your BCBA, early intervention. What exactly is early intervention and why is it so important? And then they say the first 5 years. Why the first 5 years and why not? If somebody, if my concern here is if there is a child who's high functioning, who masks his autism or her autism really well, are they late if they're jumping into ABA after 5 years? So why early intervention is important? What exactly is it? And is there a time frame?
Okay, so let's define and understand what is early intervention here. So early intervention means that you provide intensive intervention care at an early young age, as early as possible.
Okay.
Okay, there's no exact kind of age bracket, but let's just assume it's between 0 to 7 years old. That's the golden time. There are a few reasons behind that. So number one reason is the speaking on the neuro side, which is where the brain plasticities of development. The child is still very young. They learn faster. They can pick up stimuli and stuff very fast and very effectively.
Okay.
So that's the prime time where they learn the most. So if you do early interventions, that helps to learn more skills and bridge the gap. Okay. So on the behavioral explanation part, let's just say you have 10 years of experience doing the same thing over and over again. Do you think it's easy for you to change your behavior?
No.
Exactly. So you have 10 years of experience working in the same way. Suddenly someone come and tell you that what you have done is not good. You have to change. You less likely to change. You're resistant to change.
Yeah.
So this is why early intervention is so important, because the moment you found out that your child needs support, try as early as possible, because the sooner we intervene, the sooner we are able to teach more functional skills and improve their quality of life.
The results are better.
The results are way better. You spend lesser resources, lesser efforts, faster progress, and results are better. So yeah.
Okay.
But for high functioning, that may mask that. Is it too late to have ABA? No, the answer is no. It's never too late to have ABA therapy, because we all learn as we go.
Because you have worked with schools as well.
Correct.
So when you go to a school and there's a child, suppose in 4th grade, it's been time that he has been in the system, and the kid is socializing somewhat as well. And then you drop this bomb on him that you are on the spectrum and you need therapy. So getting the child to absorb it and bring him to the therapy is also a struggle.
Correct.
How do you deal with those kids? Because I think, mentally preparing them that you are different is also a struggle.
Absolutely. I think at that point of time, we have to look at the context, because every individual is different.
Yeah.
And we cannot use the same way how we treat everyone the same.
Yeah.
So we have to look at what are the profile, what exactly the challenges the child face. I can be high functioning, but if let's say I don't face a lot of difficulties in life, I mean, we do face difficulty, but then if I don't face like extreme difficulties in life and I can still do as usual, the need for intervention is less.
Okay.
Correct? What is ABA is about focusing. The ABA therapy is about focusing how to teach the child to acquire skills that is meaningful to that person.
Okay.
So it's about skills development, skills acquisitions. In the end of the day, diagnosis is just a diagnosis.
Yeah.
I don't say diagnosis is important. It's very important because it tells us what kind of support you need. But however, every child or every individual is different. We have to look at what is the gap here. How can we
Fill in the gap.
fill in the gaps and teach the person to be, acquire more skills? Because the more skill he has, the
Better quality of
better
life.
quality of life. Yeah, he can be more independent. He can do more stuff. He can access the community, society. He can work. Then, as long as he can be independent, he has better quality of life.
Yeah, true.
That's all it matters.
So tell me, just walk me through the procedure. Like a parent comes to you, when you get the diagnosis, it's overwhelming, and you just want to jump onto any help that's out there because you're desperate. You want to do whatever is possible. And as a new parent, for instance, I didn't know what is ABA. I didn't know what is a BCBA when I was told my twins were 2.3 at that time. A parent comes to you, to your center, and he says, my pediatrician told me that my son or my daughter might have autism. What is the procedure that you follow for the assessments? Because that is what is really confusing. Google is your best friend these days. So people will just go MChat and, you know how it is.
Yeah.
So what is the procedure in a center that a parent should be looking forward to, and which is the right exact way?
Okay. So again, every individual is different, right? So we cannot have the same treatment recommendation plan for everyone. So the first thing that we need to do when the parents came to us is that we will run initial consultation first.
Okay.
And
that is?
That is to interview the parents, observe the child, see what's going on, what is really concerned, what is the rough estimate of a child's current progress, so that we can understand, okay, we probably need to dive deeper after the initial consultation. But before that, if a parent came to us, it is very important for us as a BCBA or any case supervisor who is running the initial consultation. It's never easy for the parents. And I'm Breen, of course. You are the parents. It's never easy. So I will also stress a lot about, being compassionate as much as possible, from our side. And again, we cannot understand. We cannot truly understand, I would say, how hard it is for your life. And that's something we cannot fully understand.
My heart still skipped a few beats because it's difficult. Yeah.
It is difficult. Even for us, yes, we understand it's difficult, but how difficult it is, only you know and you understand.
Yeah.
So that's why it is our job to try our best, to
console the parents and understand the child.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Part of the job is to counsel the parents as well. Hey, it's okay. I understand that you have this diagnosis. Let's focus on what is really the matters here. Because diagnosis, again, in the end of the day, is to tell you that your child needs support.
Yeah.
But what kind of support, how to develop the skills is where we come in. That's why we have to run assessment next to understand where is your current child baseline. And then from there, we will be able to create a program targeting to those gaps so that we can help your child to learn skills as much as possible.
So you are just, because there is a multidisciplinary approach.
Yes.
You are just looking at a behavior, or you look at, the other aspects as well, because there are kids who need OT as well, hypersensitive, hyposensitive. So do you look at that as well? Because usually centers have a team with an occupational therapist, with a speech therapist. So do you give a detailed report to the parent after the assessments, observations, mainly their observations? That's what I've seen. So do you tell them that, he also needs ABA and speech and OT, or you just, as a BCBA, or you just focus on ABA?
Okay. So as a BCBA, my role, and I'm competently trained in ABA most of the time.
Okay.
In terms of speech and OT, this is where I like the most in terms of multidisciplinary, because I see that if we work in different areas, they can target certain areas which, as a BCBA, we cannot do everything.
Yeah.
But in the same time, we are not competently trained to say, hey, he needs speech certain hours, XYZ, and what kind of treatment recommendations. We cannot provide that. But what we can look out for is that the symptoms, if there is a child who, for example, a profile with a high sensory defensive kind of behavior there, that most likely he needs an OT. So this is where we will do refer. We will refer them to the OT. Let the specialist to do the job. Unless if I'm trained in OT and speech, having a certifications for that and plus ABA, then yes, I can do that. But if not, I can't.
I'm asking this question because I have met BCBAs who have told me literally that if you get the right ABA, you will not need OT and speech because you can, incorporate things from OT and speech in an ABA session as well. That's why I'm asking you, because it's a lot of money involved as well. As a parent to twins on the spectrum, I can tell you autism is expensive.
It is.
Who would know better than a BCBA,
Yeah.
It's expensive.
It is expensive.
So a lot of parents, they fall for this as well. Like, okay, you can incorporate some things from the OT, some things from the speech. But what I feel is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when an OT and a speech and a BCBA or RBT, they work together as a team under one roof, the results are better.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So like even my current practice, we also incorporate some of the techniques that I've learned in the past, which, you understand who, like Adam, So I incorporate certain skills that I've learned in the past from OT and speech in my practice. But we cannot truly replace a speech therapist who has been trained rigorously, to become a speech therapist. And same goes to OT. Like same goes to ABA too. You cannot have a speech therapist who do a BCBA job when the BCBA is rigorously trained in the background for multiple of years. Unless, of course, like my mentor, she's actually a speech therapist, speech pathologist, and also she's a BCBA. So that's where I was trained under the kind of background, where
she's so ideal. She sounds so ideal.
She's the ideal. I learned a lot of things from her, like how to train staff, how to see things from different perspective, how to help the children.
Because I think as a parent, it works better when everybody's working as a team, including the parent.
Correct.
If ABA knows what's going in speech and they talk, okay, this area you can focus, or the ABA talks to OT that, maybe his muscles are weak or you can work on this.
Yes.
It eventually comes together in a better picture when they are connected to each other.
Correct. And same goes to like if OT and speech using certain ABA techniques as well, it helps them to build rapport faster, reduce the need of, managing the challenging behavior during the sessions.
Exactly.
And effectively get the speech results.
I think at the top, it's behavior. If a child is not trained in behavior, he's not going to, for example, sit down in an OT session or focus on the activities.
Correct.
So, Pahang, just tell me, how do you know, this question is like on behalf of the whole community.
Yep.
How do you know that this BCBA is the right BCBA, this center is the right place, and I should give them more time? Because personally, I tell you, the first center that I went to when I knew nothing, my twins used to have a meltdown, and I know that, you're breaking a behavior. But at one point I was like, this is not okay. I'm not okay with this. But I was told that, no, mommy, you need to sit down for 2 years and this is how it is going to be and they'll get used to it. And eventually I left the center because my gut was saying that it's not the right. And I was right. Then I ended up with you and I could see, the 2 weeks into it and I could see changes. How do you know that these are the people, this is the BCBA and this is the center and I should give them time?
Right. Well, okay, I would like to clarify here. This is my personal opinion here.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, as a BCBA, because it's really tough for parents, and as you mentioned, it's very costly. It is very important that we as professionals to provide the best quality of care. That's the oath that we always, stand by. So personally, for me, if I would like representing myself, if I would like to provide the best quality of care, the first thing first, parents needs to be on board in the therapy sessions.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important, because
I think I'd use the term here, empowering the parents.
empowering the parents, involving the stakeholders, I think that's the most important. So to get them buy-in into the therapy sessions. Why? 2 hours of therapy sessions is not enough. And parents are spending more time with the kids, with the children. So with their children, spending more time with the parents, and parents is getting buy-in into therapy sessions, they will implement what we are doing here. So I would suggest a few things like, for example, initial consultation, when the BCBA explain about what's going on, what's the next procedure, making sure the parents understood the science of ABA, because it's very important for us to make sure the parents understood what are we going to do next before they enrolling the ABA therapy.
Okay.
I can't just come and tell you, hey, you need your son need 40 hours of therapy per week.
That's what I was told.
That's it, done.
40 hours. For me, it was 80.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't justify why.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, okay, what are they going to do for 40 hours?
Yeah. It doesn't justify. So it's very important that when the BCBA come in and say, I understand what you're worried about, blah, 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 and these are the next steps that's going to happen, and why do we need at least 10 hours per week, for example, and justify it, because it is also our job to justify what we are doing. We are not...
So how do I know as a parent that it's working?
Data. Simple as that, data. Data shows the progress. And then you also, as a parent, you observe your child every day.
Yeah.
The observations, the data, will suggest that, hey, this is a child that is progressing in their skills.
Okay.
And I think the best test ever is to have the child to be able to perform the skills outside of the clinical setting.
That's the thing, journalizing whatever they have learned in the center. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, the goal of the therapy is so that they can use the skills outside of the clinical setting.
Yeah. Journalizing whatever they have learned in the... But, right now in the recent years, there's this whole lot of community, the anti-ABA community. There are neurodivergent self-advocates in the West who are coming out and who are just saying that they hated it when they sat down, they were forced to look in the eye, give eye contact, do this, reward and punishment. They just felt pressured and they felt bad, and now it's gaining strength, this momentum against ABA. So do you think there is wrong ABA or bad ABA? Like, why there is this whole community getting so much strength against ABA? Because as a parent, honestly, I have seen both sides of ABA. I have seen ABA help my sons. Whatever they learned in the first 4 years, it still stays with them. Now they're 10 and a half. But there was a point where I was like, what are they even doing with my sons? That was also ABA. So do you think there is good and bad ABA? Like, what is happening right now in the ABA? Why is so much anti-ABA sentiments are gaining strength globally?
Yeah. Again, this is my personal opinion for today as well. I think there are a few factors I can think of, and I do agree some points, certain procedures that was, used to do that a few years or, 10 or 20 years ago. But again, ABA is a science, a progressive science, where we have advanced the studies, a lot more different kind of evidence base. I think one of the few biggest trend that we are talking about right nowadays is to have compassionate and also trauma-informed assent. So I think this is a big topic within our community itself. To how do we get more, how do we present ourselves in a way that we are more compassionate? So this is actually part of our disciplines and also the practices, the way how we practice in our ABA day-to-day life. There are a few factors. I'd like to answer a few things there. Number one is, as far as understood certain news about anti-ABA, is that there are some practitioners who are not qualified to run ABA service.
Okay.
I think this is one of the main things that we are tackling right now as well. because sometimes some people may present themselves, I'm running ABA, I'm doing ABA,
But they know nothing.
but they're not qualifying.
Okay.
So this is why credential is also very, very important here. So are they practicing what it should be practiced in the right way? So that's why it creates the negative impression there.
So you think those kind of people give a wrong ABA?
It might be.
Okay.
Yeah. It can be a lot of other factors too. And secondly, I'm not rejecting the idea of, we do have such issues, but we are addressing the issues with the current community too, like advancing the standards, and then, keep on learning different kind of ways to practice our ABA science. So these are the things that we are working on as well. Second thing is also, I think it's about the understanding of the science itself. I also heard about someone rejecting ABA just because of we are using reinforcement, for example.
Yeah. Some people hate the idea of reward and punishment because they say in the long run they can't get rid of it. The individual getting used.
But in reality, ABA treatments is actually focused on fading out reinforcements in the sense that we are not providing a reinforcement in the intensive intervals. That means like we don't reinforce frequently.
Yeah.
That's part of the goal, right? But however, without reinforcements, we don't behave. We don't engage a certain behavior. For example, it applies to us as well. For example, why do you work?
I want money.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you don't want a reinforcement, means you don't want money.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. It's the same thing. So we cannot say that we like only provide reinforcements. We do a lot of different strategies as well.
Yeah.
We fade out the reinforcements. So I
So
think
you think those people were not given the right ABA, the ones who are...
either they are being, provided ABA that is not certified or not
Quality
competent,
ABA.
the quality, non-competent kind of practitioners, or wrong understanding of ABA.
So you think what I see lacking here is a check and balance, because as parents, see, I look at, because I'm a parent, so I'm representing parents.
Yeah.
Parents are very desperate. They want to see change. They want to see results. Like, I'm paying you. You are the BCBA. Like, I want to see the results. And at the BCBAs and the therapist ends, the trend that I have seen lately, since autism is spreading so much, we have so much autism now than it was a decade back. There's a lot of pressure on the therapists as well. I see centers choked with kids. Therapists are tired, they're fatigued. So there's a lot of pressure, and more pressure equals to less quality of work, because, a therapist is dealing 20 kids a day, for example.
Correct.
The quality of work is going to go down. So I think there has to be a check and balance on overall system, but who is going to do it? And I think BCBAs, they are at the top. But I agree with this part that it's the quality of ABA. But again, there is, like I said, there is so much anti-ABA campaigns that are gaining strength. My question to you here would be, what if not ABA? Is there any alternate when it comes to autism?
When it comes to autism treatment.
Is there any alternate of ABA? I don't want to take ABA. I hate it. For example, what will you suggest me? What's the next thing? Or if there is any other therapy that can help me or my child?
Well, I think personally, not to say, because I'm a BCBA and also ABA practitioners, there might be some kind of bias coming from me, but personally, I think ABA is very much needed. It's just that, if a person does not convince about ABA treatment, I think the very first thing that we need to understand is why they are so, why are they rejecting ABA? I think this is where we need to understand. Yeah. And we also should hear from the anti-ABA community too. I think that that's a lot of discussion needed so that we truly understand where is their perspective, so that we can really address the issue. I would say if there's no ABA involved, at the very least, they should seek out for other treatments like speech and OT. But again,
ABA is important.
ABA is important.
But see, I'm a mother to kids who have this habit of self-injurious behavior, self-hitting. I have been taking ABA for a long time. Then I stopped. But they are at an age where it's a lot of hitting, and that is where I've seen that ABA is not helping. That is why I stopped. Do you think that ABA is still struggling to manage the self-injurious behaviors? Because I've been told so many times that once a behavior develops, hitting I'm talking about, it does not vanish. It just goes down. It's like a submarine. It goes down, it comes back. And I have seen it with both of my kids. So you think ABA is struggling with self-injurious behaviors, or the kids who are on the severe side of the spectrum? Because that is where I think we need to put more highlight, the kids who are non-speaking, who have a lot of behavior. And that is the side which I want to represent. Because see, the other side we have seen, there are neurodivergent people who say, we hate ABA, we hated it as a child. What about the other side of the spectrum? That is lots of behaviors, no language, Do you think ABA struggles with that?
I think we have to look into a big picture. So every child profile is different, right? We don't just think into understanding of the child's profile. We understand what is the background of the current living situations where they have right now. I think ABA is a science where we have to apply consistently. I think that the consistency of the implementations of the strategies needs to be there. Otherwise, you might see a different results too. Also, another thing is the understanding why the behavior occurred in the first place. I think there's a lot of in-depth analysis required. So if we don't do that kind of analysis and given the treatment strategies to run away and to implement it, you probably don't see the results. If you don't see the results, I think something's wrong there, which means we have to go back to analysis there. So what's going on? When does it hit? And why does it hit? So that's why in ABA, when we provide ABA therapy, we don't have a therapist to just run the plan. We have constant supervisions and monitoring, because it is very important for us to monitor what's going on. And behavior is very dynamic, right? We talk about that. So that's why sometimes right now the behavior might occur because the child cannot accept no, for example. But now we have trained the child to accept no, but then the same behavior occur again. But it can be a different function now this time. It can be, I do this because of attention. So you see, same behavior, different function. Wow. So again, it's a different analysis here, right? So if we thought that, oh yeah, I think he's hitting because he cannot accept no again, it may be, or it may be not. So this is why we have to go back to analysis. What's going on here?
Sometimes BCBAs, they use this term impulsive behaviors. They say there's no reason. With my son, I have heard it so many times. We don't see any reason. It's impulsive. What's impulsive behaviors?
Impulsive behavior. Very interesting. So if I understood correctly, impulsive behavior defined more on self, like just doing it for the sensory perspective. I think that's where they come in. So again, I think this is where we want to look at if the child is doing because of the impulsive, or is it because of something else. I think we really need to look at a lot of analysis there. But
so, what you're trying to say is that there is always a reason for hitting.
Yes.
It's just not out of nowhere.
Yes.
It's not for fun.
It's not for fun.
There's always a reason.
Yes, it can be either sensory. We all know the basic functions of behavior, right? So sensory, escape, attention, and tangible. But again, in real life, behavior is not simple as this four function.
Yeah, see, there are, parents, they get tired, they get desperate, they get upset, because to me, if you ask me what is the most difficult part of autism, I'd say it's the self-injurious behaviors. Correct. Because they're painful.
Correct.
And as a parent, I have been in this journey for almost 11 years now. There are days when you're tired, you don't want to do ABA, you want a solution. Like
you want something different to solve this.
How do I stop him? How do I help him?
Correct.
And then parents end up on the medication side. At what point do you as a BCBA tell parents, okay, I think you cannot take more than this, because there is a limit. We are humans,
Correct,
you know.
correct.
So there is a limit. Like, for instance, I have 2 kids, and both of them are into self-hitting. Not too much, but when it's there, it's scary.
It can be very intense.
So you think it's up to a parent to decide how much they can tolerate, like how much they can see their child hitting themselves, or you just tell them, okay, done. You just go to medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the parents, they'll end up taking medicines because it's maybe the easy way out.
It's the easy way out. Yes, correct. Yeah, absolutely. I think first thing first, let's take a step back. I think we really want to understand self-injurious behavior is always a risk behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. We are not taking advantage of one self-injurious behavior means it's a behavior. No, it's a risk behavior. So if we are looking at, let's say we have done these interventions and it doesn't work, I think that's where we suggest that the multidisciplinary comes in, where we need to. I actually had some profile of the kids where they went to psychiatrists, and they had medications. Combining the medications with ABA, we actually see much better result too.
So medications are not bad.
It depends.
Like my husband would say, no, let's tolerate this, let's work on this, but no medications. But me as a mother, I think, like you were saying, medications and ABA might work for a better outcome. So yes, it could be the approach.
As long as it's not affecting the health of the kid, of the children.
Yeah.
So actually medications and behavior, we see a reduction of behavior to a certain level. Because in the end, in some cases, I'm just saying in some cases, children with autism may experience self-injurious behavior in a very serious case.
Yeah, especially when they turn into like teenagers, they're stronger.
Correct. Yeah. The more we restrain and the more we still manage on the behavior, it gets intense as they go. So this is why early intervention comes in, multidisciplinary comes in, analyzing the case. If the child needs support beyond ABA, that's very important that we have to work together with other health professionals. Because I do work with I do work with a few children is on medications and have a severe self-injurious behavior. And with ABA combining with other disciplines, we actually see much reductions. Yes, it's not completely gone. And it's very hard because it's a learned behavior, right? We all understood if you have learned, it's hard to remove it. It can't be unlearned.
They're smart.
Yeah, they're smart because they know exactly, if I try this, it doesn't work, I'll try something else that would definitely work.
And I somewhere feel they're smart enough to know that parents, they freak out when there is, when they're hitting, and because they're looking and they're like, I can tell by their eyes that they know that, okay, I can scare them, this works.
Correct.
This works. So it's a learned behavior that helps them in their own way.
And we've seen that before, right, in the past. So I think to come to a certain extent, if we have identifying the function, I think that's the most important, the reason behind why the behavior occurs first.
Yeah.
Once we identify that, then it's easier for us to think about what's the next treatment recommendations. Because if it's like sensory, we definitely have to work together with other health professionals, because that's something we cannot control from our end.
So medication and ABA, they do.
And OT as well, it depends on the functions as well.
So you can bounce back to ABA at any age. There's no limit.
Yes, there's no limit.
There's no limit, because there are certain professionals who say that ABA is like until 10 years and then it doesn't work.
It's just the effectiveness of ABA is not going to be as effective. I mean, actually, not talking about ABA, I'm talking in general as a whole. For all disciplines or any interventions after a certain age, you will see that it's a decrease of effectiveness. It's not that it's not possible. It's possible.
Why the decrease in effectiveness?
When we talk about early interventions, the plasticity of the brain, the
brain is basically set with behaviors.
And you got long habits of, a history of learning behavior there.
So what's the upper limit for ABA?
I wouldn't say the upper limit, but I would say is that where are you giving out the child or not? From my perspective is that regardless of any age, ABA still works. It's just that you don't see faster progress or again progress.
But you can use techniques from ABA throughout life.
Correct.
This is what I've seen with adults on the spectrum. And one of the most important things. You guys, BCBAs, you say that early intervention is everything, 20 hours, 40 hours, depending on where the child is on the spectrum. Do you think that covering it under the insurance is the most important thing? Because on one end, I am told that if my child takes 20 hours of ABA, 10 hours of speech, 10 hours of OT, he's going to be somewhere else. He's going to be doing a lot better. Then I go back to my insurance. They tell me, oops, it's not covered. So you think that it's high time that we start talking about health reforms as a BCBA? Because you guys are the ones who can push the system to get it covered, because it's a game changer.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. If, like, let's say examples from the States, United States of America, they have insurance funded everywhere. UK, certain states, certain county, they do provide support for interventions as well. So I think giving all these examples from other countries, it does help. And
It does help.
in UAE, yeah, there are certain very limited insurance that provide insurance funded for the treatments.
I think there should be a board of BCBAs that sits down together with the healthcare system and tells them that's important, it should be covered.
I think it should be the whole ally health, in fact.
Yeah.
So because it's not just involved about ABA, but you talk about speech and OT.
Yeah.
And,
Because since ABA is crowned to be the most effective way out, so.
Correct.
And since I am a mother, I told you, with kids who have self-injurious behaviors, and I, of course, all the parents, we worry about the future. One most important question that pops up in the head is rehab centers. Do you think that we need to have more rehab centers, and eventually, the kids who are on the severe side of the spectrum, they need to be going to the rehab centers? Because as parents, we're going to grow older and they are going to get stronger. So what do you suggest is the way forward in the future? Because future worries us a lot. So as a BCBA, what do you say?
A rehab centers that has residential kind of settings is one of the options that has available for to help this population. But in the end of the day, I think the steps that we are thinking right now should be, how can I teach my child as much as possible so that they can be independent? Yeah. But I do agree, rehab centers are required for such, or more like residential kind of settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely required. We do have in Abu Dhabi, I believe, and UAE, in the whole UAE, I think there are a few centers around.
We need more.
And we need more, yes,
At
definitely.
the rate at which autism is growing now, I think we'll need plenty.
I agree.
And lastly, Hong, advocacy, because my whole life now is about doing the part that I can, and that is to spread the word of kindness, acceptance, accommodating our individuals on the spectrum. We put a lot of money, energy in the centers with the BCBAs, with the POTI, speech, to prepare our individuals on the spectrum to go and meet the normal, typical society outside. When it comes to advocacy, my child wants to go out and mingle in with the normal, typical kids, but those kids are not interested. So how do you think that we can strengthen the advocacy within the society to make it more accepting to kids who are different? That is where we struggle. And that's very depressing for the parents. You are spending so much time and energy with the therapies. You take a child to the park and he's bullied and you're back to square one, back to the dark dungeon of depression, like, oh my God, what's going to happen to my child? So how can we strengthen that part?
Right. Few things we can definitely do that. Not easy, definitely, but I would say it's also possibility there. It is also part of my journey to, create an environment where we can do more inclusions. But having said that, a few things that we want to consider is the skills acquisition for the child. So the reason why, if we develop more skills that can be used in the, in the real life scenarios and the society and the community, we are more likely setting them for success.
Yeah.
The second part is environment. We don't want to put our child in an environment where we are setting them for fail. We want to set them for success. So if we have to, I don't think it's easy for any parents as well. But if I am a parent who is on the spectrum, I would definitely look at where is the environment that is safe for my child to learn and to be part of the community. In the end of the day, access to community is where the limits for them right now at this moment. So we want to figure out where exactly I can put my son and my children to a community where they can accept them, right? So this is where the safe environment, the second factor there.
But what about, I get it, but what about the other part? What about training
That's the third one.
Normal world?
Yeah, that's the third one.
I think that's the toughest part. When you talk about inclusion, advocacy, that is because, me and you, we know about autism.
Correct.
What about the other people here right now? They don't know about autism. So why not tell them and train them and, start speaking about it more publicly?
Absolutely. That's the third point I want to talk about, which is the disseminations and educations as well. So if we create a safe environment where we can, for example, train the child, in the same time, create an environment where all the kids can understand what is autism about, how can we be there? It has been part of the journey where I went to multiple big schools, providing autism training, give them in a very non-jargon, very simple way of understanding. And the key message was to tell them that, hey, they are the same like you. They need an opportunity to learn, and they need opportunity to participate and engage.
Accommodate them.
Yeah, in the day-to-day life. So, and how to support them.
Yeah.
By educating the public more and more dissemination on there, you will hopefully see a better results from there.
Yeah, things are better than before, but it's still a long way.
It's a quest, definitely.
It's a long way.
It's a long.
Hong, lastly, one advice to the new parents that you want them to keep in their pockets 24/7 after they get the diagnosis.
Yes.
A message of hope, I'd say. What would you like to say to all the new parents listening to you who have been just told that, oh, your child is on the spectrum?
Okay. My key message, I understand. I mean, first of all, I cannot fully understand, we as a BCBA or as a third party who never had on the same spectrum. Yeah. But as a parents, we all hope our child to be independent and to have a quality of life, right? Yeah. Regardless of whether it's a neurotypical or a child on the spectrum, I think we all wish the same, but the intensity is different. So as a parents who got to know this diagnosis, don't give up. If you give up, no one else will be able to help your child.
That's my point.
Yes, don't give up, because in the end of the day, there's so many things you can do. Focus on their skills development. The more things they can do for themselves, the more independent they are, the more quality of life they can have. So don't give up. Focus on training them, pushing them, teach them, so that they can learn a lot of skills, especially at their young age, while we're still here.
Yeah, exactly.
So that as much as possible, they can survive for themselves, they can engage in the community, they can engage in society, leave them for a better world.
Yeah. And taking care of yourself as a parent as well, because absorbing the diagnosis is not easy. So prioritizing your own mental health, because a healthy parent is going to raise a better child. Regardless
I agree. You're right.
Because I've been through there. So thank you so much, Hong. I hope a lot of people have learned a lot of things from you, and you have been a part of my journey. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure to have you. Keep working and never stop advocating, because we are here for advocacy, all advocacy. Thank you so much for coming in, joining in, and I hope you guys have learned a lot from Hong. One thing, again, I'd say take care of your mental health first, because a healthy parent, physically and mentally both, is going to raise a better child. And do not think about the future much, because you have the present. Work on them and get them ready for the future. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Warrior Mommy podcast. Until then, lots of love and tons of power to you for raising your special angel. Thank you.